like most faculty and the administrative and staff that are here today, we are all committed to having our students have good jobs, be engaged citizens, and live healthy and happy lives. Yet, we all want to take a slightly different path maybe to reach that goal. There are some of us in here that like to sprint to the initiatives, and others who like to sort of jog to the initiatives. Lately, I've been walking to the initiatives. But in all cases, we do come together at the end to produce, hopefully, a successful program for all. At Bakersfield College, our development of 31 associate degrees for transfer, and 637% growth in ADT completion in the last 6 years earned us, thank you. There was a lot of bragging going on over here earlier, so I thought I needed to get caught up on this. I didn't want to be left out. Earned us as well recognition for the campaign for college opportunity last night at their Champion of Education Award ceremony. What more is the growth has set the stage for an unprecedented partnership with our local CSU, Bakersfield, that you'll hear more about later today. It's finished in 4. We are now moving forward in trying to forge a path with our UC systems as well. And that is really why we're all here today. Improving our completion rates at the CSU and UC will be a boon to our local and state economy by improving the productivity and economic outlook of industries that are relevant on educated workers, From a student's perspective, and that is what we should all be perceiving, students' perspectives. Coming to a school where you can save money at $46 a unit and literally earn 2 years of your baccalaureate degree is a wonderful opportunity. And as we moved forward recently with Assembly Bill 19 attempting to remove further financial barriers, these will only aim to better California and our local communities. To share some of the stellar examples of quality community college university partnership to advance baccalaureate degrees, I'd like to introduce today's panelists. We have Dr. Joe Wise, the superintendent and president of Shasta College. Jackie Cruz, vice president of advancement at Hartnell College. And Dr. Noemi Donasso, Senior Vice President at the wonderful company. So we're going to begin with Dr. Wise. President Wise, in the state of California, our colleges and universities serve vastly different communities. Some urban, some suburban, and some very rural and remote, like your college in Redding, California. Some of us have to look at a map to figure out where that is, by the way. Can you tell us a little bit about Shasta College and your service area and the way you are innovating to address the barriers to educational access and attainment your students experience?
Sure, thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here and happy to be able to share some of what we're doing up in the far north. I was that blue dot at the top of that map they showed earlier, for the 739-mile spread. So you can go to the next slide. And it's another map for you to remind you a little bit about the college. We serve 3 counties in the far, far north of California. Some people call it Superior California. But Shasta, Tehama, and Trinity counties, about 10,500 square miles, about 250,000 people. I'd say 70% of the people are along the I-5 corridor running north and south through Shasta and Tehama counties. One of the things that has been motivating us at the college is when we were coming up with our master plan a few years back and looking at the 2010 census data, we're almost flipped from the statewide percentages. About 31% of our adults 25 and older have some college and no degree, and about 22% have a bachelor's degree or higher, and those numbers statewide are about flipped. It's more like 20% with some college no degree and about 30% with or more with a bachelor's. So that statistic, along with our location and realizing that we're in sort of a higher education semi-desert, I won't call it a full desert because Shasta College is helping fill that gap, but there's no public four-year CSU or UC in our area. CSU Chico's start on the map there. It's about 70, 75 miles away from our campus, and then much farther from some of our residents when they're up in the mountains. And then UC Davis is about 160 miles away. So for our 25 and older place-bound students with families and jobs who don't want to leave, it's a challenge for attaining a bachelor's degree. And so we've come up with several approaches to try to help bridge this gap for our residents. And so if you go to the next slide, you'll see that a little bit of our philosophy that I try to encourage our folks. It's okay to take risks. Let's try things. If it fails, that's fine. Learn the lesson, make improvements. If it succeeds, let's try to scale it. And then I like to tell people that one way to measure the health of our college is measuring the health of our community. So is our attainment rates in our community going up? Those sorts of things. And then just the bottom line, every once in a while I'm asked, well, how are we going to fund this? And I think there's ways to fund these initiatives, but even so, let's try to do what's right for the students. And we're not just doing this for the funding streams. So the first thing pathway I want to explain a little bit is our ACE program, Accelerated College Education. We started this in 2016, and the little graphic there kind of gives you the idea of the program. We took at first our two most popular programs, psychology and business, and we designed the first year. It wasn't all 8-week classes, and then we realized that was challenging for the students to have some 5-week classes and some 7-week and some 9-week, and so we standardized it. That was one lesson we learned, and now it's all 8-week classes, all very much a guided pathway, because that's 2 days a week. They know they come Tuesday or Thursday if it's a face-to-face class. After work, it's geared toward also having 8-week online courses, so they can focus on 2 courses at once, have a week off, 2 courses, and they get 4 courses in the semester, and then do it again in the spring and then in the summer, and they can get a full year's worth of coursework done. All very much, I know what my schedule is for the year. I know I can get my degree in 2 years. So we've expanded that now to about 8 or 9 of our most popular degrees, and even some of our business degrees during the day, not just in the evening, with some of these courses. Our preliminary data is very exciting to us. Of course, these are open enrollment courses, so it's a cohort model for the ACE students, but others can also register when there's room in the courses. And so our first 2 years of data, we looked at nearly 2,700 enrollments, and about 1,300 were the cohort students, and about the other half were non-cohort students. And our success rates overall were in course success were 79%. The cohort students were almost 90%. With the extra support we've arranged for them. And so our district-wide is 74%. So both groups, it's a higher success rate. So we're very excited about this opportunity, and we have faculty jumping on board and doing the work to add more and more classes each year, and more programs to this approach. Then our second thing I want to share is a little newer. I don't have a lot of data yet to share on this, but conceptually, and we have a small group piloting it from last spring, how can we help bridge the gap to the bachelor's degrees? Many of the adults who are trying to do it in our region are place-bound, can't leave, like I said earlier, so it's finish your degree at Shasta and good luck if you're doing that online bachelor's degree. So what we tried to do is try to come up with a way, how could we help bridge that gap? How could we provide support even though they're not our student anymore? And then the aha moment for us came, let's make them our student. Let's create 4 one-unit student success courses where they can take 1 a semester. And and keep them our students so they can use our resources. We can create a cohort model, even if they're at varied universities and colleges doing their online programs. And so we have a small group that enrolled in the Getting Connected to University 1-unit student success course last spring, and we're trying to build off our ACE students to help encourage them to attain a bachelor's degree and provide them this additional support. Our foundation pays the enrollment fee for the students through scholarships. And so the biggest challenge so far we're seeing is that our students are very busy, right? And so it takes a little convincing, is it worth signing up for this extra 1-unit class at Shasta College when I'm really pursuing my bachelor's degree? So that's something we're trying to overcome as we're implementing this program. And then the third thing I want to share about is degrees when due. If you've heard about this, I want to say up front, we decided to do this before the funding formula change in community colleges, okay? But the idea was we're actually one of 2, I believe, pilot colleges nationwide in the first year, partnering with Institute for Higher Education Policy. And now in the second year, I'm told there's, I think, 6 or 7 CSUs and more and more community colleges working on this. But the idea was, how many of our students have nearly or enough units for an associate's degree, but they don't have the degree? How many of our students left without an associate's degree and transferred to a 4-year school and then dropped out of the 4-year school and have no degree to show for their effort over the years? So some of those questions we were asking, and the great help, technical support we got from IHEP, I got to turn to my right page here to get the data right. We looked at 5 years, 2013 to 2018, of our students. We found 2,870 had 45 units or more with a 2.0 and no degree. And then subset, 658 had 60 units or more with no degree. And 383 had transferred to a 4-year institution, and about 200 of those were still enrolled, but 143 had stopped attending and had no degree. And so we've done a lot of work over the last year assigning counselor and student support staff to pull all these records, go by hand and figure out, do they have a degree that they never were awarded, and now we're contacting them. And the exciting part is we started with that 658 with the 60 units or more. 222 actually have an earned degree that they never applied for. When you think about it, we all know, most of us, that you apply to get into college. It's not really intuitive that you have to apply to get your degree, right? And so we've been reaching out to these students. We took the tack, we're not just going to award the degrees. There may be a reason, maybe they're enrolled somewhere and and we missed it, and we don't want to mess up their financial aid, or those sorts of things. But we've gotten through to 100 of them this summer and early fall so far, and awarded associate's degrees to them. A couple of the responses were, "Is this a scam? Do I have to pay for this?" And no. We're just trying to reach back out and help you finish. So we're working to continue analyzing the transcripts. And another little tidbit that I'm a little ashamed to share, but I'm excited to share. It's one of those why weren't we doing this before moments, and hopefully some of you are already doing this. But our people working on this on their own initiative, they said, well, wait, let's look at everybody who applied for degrees last May and who were denied because they didn't meet the degree requirements. And they found out of about 80 or 90 students, 37 who actually just applied for the wrong degree. They have another associate's we could have awarded them. And so that was all on their own initiative, and it's that sort of thing that's just very exciting to share. But like I said, I wish we'd have been doing this years ago rather than discovering this now. So that's a little bit about what I wanted to share.
Thank you, President Weiss. Impressed with the innovation and the creativity of getting your students through the program in the state of Jefferson.
There we go.
Did I say Jefferson? I mean California. Okay. For those of you who don't know, northern part of the state did want to succeed the state of California, but unfortunately we were hit with Pearl Harbor, and that actually ended their bid to become the state of Jefferson. In most people's minds, yeah. That's what I thought. We're going to now move on to our next panelist, Vice President Cruz. Hartnell College is uniquely situated, serving a population with vastly different experiences. I understand Hartnell has trailblazed a partnership with CSU Monterey Bay to create a pathway from the community college to the university so that students can complete a bachelor's degree in 3 years, earning high wages upon completion. Tell us more about the work you did to establish this partnership and the educational and employment outcomes your students are now experiencing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation. Good morning, everyone. So I'm so glad I don't have my Apple Watch, because it would be, Jackie, it looks like you're working out, because my heartbeat's going. I am pleased to be able to talk to you a little bit about the CSN3 model. But first, I want to begin with the story that has to do with the orchids that are right here. Andy Matsui, a gentleman that came from Japan in 1961 with 30 bucks in his pocket. He came here through a vocational program in agriculture through the Farm Bureau, and soon decided to start and bring his family here. He had his wife and his oldest daughter, Teresa. He started growing flowers, roses. And he was in the business for about 30 years, up and down with the business. And then finally he took a chance at dedicating all of his resources to grow orchids. And thank God the orchid business has done well. He had invested about $5 million in about 146 scholarships in Monterey County. And he came to our president one day and said, could you do something to help these students complete? Because my $40,000 per student is not cutting it. They were going to, they were transferring, but they weren't completing. And so he was really frustrated that even with his generosity and the support that they were getting, it just wasn't enough. And so he came to the president, and the president talked to two amazing, amazing people. One of them was faculty member Joe Welsh, who was the head of computer science at Hartnell College. And he talked to his dear friend and esteemed colleague at CSUMB, Dr. Satya Naraya, who is co-founder of the program, is here today. Please stand up. Please stand up. Be recognized. Thank you. And they said, well, we can do something that's an accelerated pathway in computer science. Both of them being just amazing believers of computer science, evangelists really of computer science. And so they soon decided to develop a seamless pathway. And if we could go to the next slide so I could talk a little bit about the model. And so this is the model and the design principles. One being seamless administrative support, meaning that the students have a predefined pathway. There is no flexibility in the pathway. They don't do choices. They go in together and they finish together, and all the classes are held by the cohort together. The registration and the transfer are all seamless, and the scholarship provided by the Matsui gave them $30,000 each, which was a full ride. The cost of the program between $11,000 to $14,000, so it was in excess of the complete program, so they graduate debt-free. The student cohort model has a high expectation growth mindset. So they have an internship built in the second year. They actually interact with industry the second week of the program, and that's a huge part of the success of this program, is the interaction and the collaboration with industry. The academic success support is crucial. They have peer mentorship model, and they also have a social cohort on Fridays, social cohort enrichment, which they very much need it, because alongside the academic intensity of the program, they also have a lot of real life challenges. So here are some of the results. So this is, keep in mind, the associate's degree is in 1.5 years, and the bachelor degree is in 3 years. The 4-year degree for bachelor degree obviously are higher, but our standard for this program is 3 years, and for the associates, 1.5 years. So we are so excited to tell you that we, as you can see, have been very proud and very successful in this endeavor, and it's paid off. So thank you, Dr. Narayan. You're a hero. You're a hero. The internship portion is also very important. So you could see there that this last year we dipped a little bit, but we picked right up and we're at 85% of internship placements. As far as what this represents for the CSU system as a whole, here's a sample of the data of what we represented to the system, to the CSU system, as far as computer science graduates. 1 out of 42 in 2012. I'm not going to read the rest, but you could see they're representing female graduates and Latinx as well. And you could see the growth now in the representation, and all the companies on the side are companies that have become champions of the program and are regular contributors to the curriculum and advice to the program. And some of them even come down to interview our students. In some cases, the students have to go up there, but like Salesforce has come down to Salinas to actually interview a group of our graduates. One thing I will say is the industry was really clear that because we have a URM program doesn't mean they get special treatment. The students have to be able to compete against Stanford and other computer science degree programs. And our faculty said, no problem. Our students have the grit and they can do it. So I'm so excited about that. So proud of them. If you could keep clicking, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's the current landscape of the computer science education in California. So 20,000 students take some kind of intro class at community colleges, and then the next number, the 3,300 students, they progress to a CS major. And then the very last part is 19% of our students that transferred to a CSU graduate in 2 years at the CSU, so 4 years in total, that's 19%. And then the bottom figure, 57%, is transfer students in the UC system that graduate in 2 years after they come from community college. And then the bottom statistic, the 4,000 students, those are freshmen at CSU or the UC system. So the total output is 6,500 students that are graduating in CS. Does anyone want to take a wild guess what the demand for the CS majors is overall? No? Okay, let's hit the slide, the next one. Click it one more time. It's 67,000 open computing jobs in California. So needless to say that the demand for the programs that we have is completely necessary. And you know, maybe we're in the wrong field, but these students are making $90,000 to $100,000 right off, you know, right out of the gate. And so we are championing the next step for us is a statewide computing talent initiative. We call it the CTI. If you could hit the next slide. And that is, again, a statewide effort to create more and more diverse students ready for these jobs. And there's 3 different areas that we want to do through a hub. It's all scaling what we've learned in the cohort model, but leveraging it through technology statewide. So it would have resources for faculty, for students, and then obviously the connection to the industry. And so we want to start off with 5 demonstration sites. And there is one other partnership in California right now that is being funded by the National Science Foundation. I want to shout out if they're here, El Camino College and CSU Dominguez Hills. They're replicating the program. And then I want to just mention one other thing, so we go to the next slide, is the other way of sort of scaling the effort of cohort models, maybe not just in CS, is you could replicate the accelerated model in other disciplines. This is an example of another Hartnell CSU and B partnership. This is around teachers. We had a 1,833% increase in the amount of the demand and the amount of teachers that needed for K through 8, especially in South Monterey County, where there are more poor communities and definitely more need. And so here you have some of the results of that, the same kind of cohort. It's 76.3% in associate's degree and 83.9%. The difference with this one is it's a 4-year program, but with the credential also earned in 4 years. So an associate's, a bachelor, and the teaching credential earned in 4. I think that's all. Can you click one more time? I think that's, oh, this is just our enrollments for the college. We haven't grown significantly, but if you click on the next slide, overall, here is our associate degrees awarded. Thank you. I didn't include certificates because it's not relevant to this conversation. But if you click one more, this is really exciting. 63% in transfers to CSU and UCs. Let me just tell you about the CSN3 makeup, because a lot of people may think, well, you're just maybe shaving off the top for the CS students. So it's 35% women, 85% underrepresented minority overall, 80% first generation, and above 70% are Latinx and the computer science graduates. Thank you. And if you have any questions, ask Professor Naraya. No, just kidding. No, I'm really happy that he came, because if you want to know deep level stuff, I mean, he can tell you, and I'm really grateful that you came over to support this.
Thank you, Vice President Cruz.
Thank you.
Your story of Mr. Matsui kind of reminded me of myself. I moved to Bakersfield with only $3 in my pocket, and I invested in rain. And to say the least, I don't have a scholarship. I think your CSN3 program is very scalable, and hopefully other colleges will look at it seriously and take it upon themselves to implement it locally. Our last presenter today is from the wonderful Academy, Dr. Donoso. The wonderful company commitment to addressing baccalaureate attainment in underserved communities is commendable. I appreciate the didn't read the right question. See, I got off track. The wonderful company has established a prominent role in higher education in the Central Valley. Tell us about the private-public partnership you lead and how your IPrep Academy is paving the way for more students from underserved backgrounds to complete a baccalaureate degree in an accelerated way.
Thank you, and congratulations to both of you. Phenomenal work. So I work for the wonderful company, and for those of you who don't know, we offer high quality, healthy brands including fruits, nuts, flowers, waters, wines, and juices. You may have heard of Wonderful Pistachios, Palm Wonderful. We have about 7,000 employees worldwide, but 4,000 of those employees live and work in the Central Valley from Bakersfield to Fresno. So our Cradle to Career services concentrate in 4 rural towns where we have the highest concentration of those 4,000 Central Valley-based employees. Lost Hills, which is a small town of only about 2,500 people, Delano, Wasco, and Avenal. At least 1/3 of all residents in these towns are on public assistance, and on average, only 6% of the residents possess a bachelor's degree, and that number is as low as 3 or 4% in some of these towns. These towns also have an overwhelming prevalence of diabetes, obesity, and other health issues. So to disrupt the cycle of poverty on all fronts, we go deep in 3 areas: community development, health and wellness, and education. Today we'll focus on education. Wonderful Education has 4 flagship programs. I'm not going to talk about all of them today, but just so you have context, we operate nationally accredited preschools. We have 2 public charter schools serving 2,200 children from kindergarten through 12th grade. We started an IPrep program we'll talk about, and we award renewable college scholarships of up to $30,000 for our employees' children, as well as graduates of our charter school and IPrep program. And so today we support 665 college scholars, and 70% of our 2014 college scholars earned their bachelor's degree within 6 years, 75% of whom were first in their family to go to college. This is 7 times, so you get it. This is 7 times the national average for first-gen low-income students. 5 years ago, Linda Resnick, the co-owner of Wonderful Company, and myself launched Wonderful Agriculture Career Prep with several partners at the high school level and community college level. It's a public-private partnership to address our skilled workforce challenges as we were rapidly becoming increasingly high-tech, not only having a hard time filling our openings for technicians, but finding that we really could not find managers, frontline supervisors, business folks to take the skilled jobs in our Central Valley-based businesses. So IPrep students who graduate from high school, we start IPrep in 9th grade, and our students graduate from high school with a 2-year college degree alongside their high school diploma. And they can choose to be in ag business, plant science, or ag science technology, which are the 3 pathways where we have the highest unfilled skilled jobs within agriculture. They also graduate with 200 hours of real work experience, including a paid summer internship for every student. Next slide, please. We partnered with 3 community colleges, 7 high schools, as well as all of their feeder middle schools, and all of our agriculture businesses, along with several of our fellow ag partners in the business. IPrep is funded by a cost-sharing model where each partner contributes 1/3 of the overall cost. By combining high school classes, next slide please, by combining the high school classes with the community college classes, and you can see on the slides, they start with 1 college course per semester and 5 high school courses, and then eventually get to senior year where they're taking 3 college courses and 3 high school courses. At the same time each year, their work experience is progressing from attending industry conventions to 9th grade to job shadowings and career symposiums to culminating with an 80-hour paid internship in 12th grade. This combination, we find that our students build a much stronger college identity while they're in high school. They're clearer about their career goals, and they dream much bigger about their future. Many of our students, more than 3/4, are first in their family to go on to college, and frankly see college as a luxury not afforded to them. Through this career-focused early college pathway, they see college as key to a high-paying job, and this accelerated pathway as a huge economic relief for them, but more importantly, they see themselves not as a burden to their families. This motivates them to work harder in high school and ultimately outperform not only the high performers at their local high schools, but they outperform the high performers at their local community colleges while in high school. In the last 2 years, 270 IPrep grads, could go to the next slide please, have earned an associate's degree in high school, with 87% currently attending a 4-year university. I should say, if you don't mind going back to the slide before, you see that we offer every grad either an $18,000 scholarship or a guaranteed job earning $35,000 right out of high school. It's not $95,000, but it's high school. And we thought they were gonna go 50-50. And as you can see in the next slide, 87% are enrolled in 4-year universities. 60% of whom started as juniors, 55% of whom are majoring in ag or STEM. Only 4% took the guaranteed job, which is 10 students. And we project by 2022, we will be feeding at least 80 skilled employees into the ag industry who will quickly become managers, supervisors, and executives. So private partners like Wonderful do, though, need two things, two learnings we found. We need access to longitudinal data to quantitatively demonstrate a return on investment. We spend, wonderful company alone spends $46,000 per student from 9th grade to earning that bachelor's degree. And the way we've justified this to our owners is that they will then have at least $500,000 to $1 million of increased lifetime earnings, which is a 10 to 20 times ROI. But we need the data to be able to quantify and prove out that ROI. And the second thing I will say is that our high school students are doing all of this work. We desperately need the UCs and CSUs to reconsider admissions. These students are being treated as first-time freshmen, even though they've earned an associate's degree. And they really should be considered as transfer admits. Some of them are being denied access to these universities.
Thank you, Dr. Donoso. $35,000, that was my starting wage at Bakersfield College.
I made $24,000. $24,000 as a high school
No
teacher.
complaining there. Again, as a part of the public-private partnership with the wonderful academy, I thank you guys. I think corporate California has a lot to learn under what you guys are doing here locally, at least in our Central Valley, and as the other community college and districts possibly reach out to their local corporations, I think we can make this work as well. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to have some questions from the audience. Just a couple quick reminders. If you could please raise your hand and wait for the mic to come to you. Do speak directly into the mic. Please state your name and the organization you're with, and try to keep your question as brief and direct as possible. Questions?
Good morning. This is Jennifer Johnson, and I am a moderator in the chat room, and we have a question from Twitter. The question is directed to Jackie Cruz or anyone from the Hartnell colleagues. They're interested to know what the success rates look like when you disaggregate the data by race, ethnicity, and gender.
So I'll repeat those over, and I'm sorry because we should have put that in the slide, but if you break it down, it's 85% underrepresented minorities. So that would be all of your underrepresented group together. And then our biggest group is Latinx, because that's the makeup of our community, above 70%. And then women, it's 30 to 35%, taking all of the cohorts together. One of the cohorts had over 40% women. I was stoked. And then we dipped a little bit, but 30 to 35% is really, really great compared to the industry standard. And it's about 7% Latinx represented in the STEM industries. So by far, we are exceeding any kind of marker for underrepresented minorities anywhere in the country.
And can Shasta reply to that question as well? We've had a live stream request for Shasta to give the same response.
Well, I don't want to give the same response.
Well,
but
sure, the right, correct response.
I'll give a similar response. When I asked, I'll focus in on the degrees when due. When I asked our staff if this was helping with our equity efforts, and they responded that yes, when they looked at the data, the disproportionate impact groups were disproportionately impacted in not getting these degrees. More of our minority students were in these cohorts. So I don't have the exact stats, but I do know that it's helping with our equity efforts.
Yes. Oh, that's a way we can do it too. Okay.
There we go.
Hi. I'm wondering, this is a question for Shasta, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what some of the barriers were in trying to implement degrees when due, or recommendations for what would make it easier to do that and to scale it at other colleges.
Well, that's a very good question. Not having directly done the work, I think it's easy, but I'm sure it's not. I think from what I've learned, the most difficult part is right now it's not automated. It's pulling each individual student's transcript, evaluating it for this degree, evaluating it for that degree, and the expertise of our counselors and staff knowing just by looking, oh, it's probably this degree, and then that saves time. But it's a lot of handwork right now, and I think that's a barrier. If we could get more automated checking of this going, then that would be a big help.
Hi, my name is Kevin Trutton. I'm the superintendent president for Feather River College. I'm the other dot way up northern Superior, California. How's that? This is a question for my colleague at Shasta College. Could you expand upon the community college bachelor's degree and how that's a ready-made program to transfer in as a junior, like the lady from the Wonderful Corporation talked about? There's throughout the state, but can you talk about how can you expand upon that?
Sure. I seem to know that this is one of your issues that you like to bring up, Kevin. So, but both Feather River and Shasta are in the pilot baccalaureate degree cohort for the community colleges in California. And for us, it makes a lot of sense because of that education desert idea I shared earlier with not having public four-year options nearby for our residents. And so I see it as another bridge to have a seamless transition for certain programs right into the four-year degrees locally. And then when I talk to other colleagues around the state, sometimes the CSUs are so impacted that there's a very difficult time getting into their students getting into programs they want to get into. I don't know if that helps, Kevin, but we got the plug in. Oh, that's right, yes.
Woohoo!
Hi, Lauren Pelisseri with Career Ladders. For Noemi, I was just wondering what kind of message you can offer or advice to other businesses looking to do this kind of amazing work with community colleges.
Well, I think for businesses, it's imperative for high schools, community colleges, to be able to establish themselves as filling a business need. And so I think that's an important piece, is that we already had partnerships with high schools and college. And so when we went to them and said, this is the need we had people like Sonia Christian at Bakersfield College, or we have Lori, our partner here from Wasco Unified, who stepped up and said, we want to help fill that need, and we are willing to do things differently. And I think that's what businesses need to feel convinced, that there are going to be strong partners at the table who are going to design and innovate and deliver the outcomes. On the business front, I think it's key for businesses to understand that this career exposure is so critical, especially for our most vulnerable populations, because the college in and of itself is not enough of a motivator. They need to know the different career options available, and if they live in a town like Lost Hills, how would they ever know what kind of jobs they could have in the Central Valley? They don't have any access or exposure to them, and this is the key role that businesses can play. So while we obviously go pretty deep in our commitment, I think job shadows, you can get about 50 to 70% of the benefit of an internship in a job shadow. I think there are ways, it's the exposure, it's the guest speakers, it's the businesses being visible for high school students and community college students, or even being at the table with professors and high school CTE teachers, for businesses to be at those tables to align the coursework to the jobs and helping to make young people understand that these are real, viable, promising futures.